Podcast. This episode is for Friday, June 19th, 2015. Welcome, Meteor fans. I'm your host, Josh Owens, along with my dueling co-host today.
Who's first?
Yeah, Dean.
Hey, this is Dean, Chicago Grooves.
I'm Ryan Walker,
Yeah?
Cincinnati Grooves.
Cincinnati Grooves.
Nice. So, I just thought we could have both people on today as co-hosts. So,
Super.
yes, you get
It's been done.
a bonus co-host and a bonus story since we have 3 people. So we're doing 6 stories today.
Hey.
So as always, you can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/Meteor Podcast. That's where we tweet about all things related to this show. Also, I think it's just my retweet bot account or something. I retweet everything I find interesting about Meteor as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this week we're going to talk about fat model skinny templates, React and Material UI, WebAssembly, creating Meteor toys, ES6, and Meteor's up 28%.
Woo!
That's such a random and interesting measurement, but we'll get into that. But I think first you wanted to say something, Dean, didn't you?
Yeah. There's been a lot of events in the news that have really been drawing, racial divides and talking about privilege and a lot of things in our community about creating zero tolerance policies for conferences, and there's a lot of discussion going on, and I just want to reiterate for the Meteor community and every community that I'm a part of that we do need to keep in mind the human element of coding and that there are people there with feelings. And if we even just exercise a little bit more sensitivity and kindness on pull requests and discussions, that's the minimum we need to do. Just want to commit that this community is welcoming and inclusive. And if we ever mess up and say anything that makes someone feel like an outsider, I want that person to let us know so that we can get them back in the fold.
Yeah, for sure. And, you can always, I would say any of us, are approachable on Twitter, or if you can find our email address, like feel free to private message us or email us. And, it's likely unintentional. So, we're here and we want to see the community grow. And I would wholeheartedly agree with all that.
All right. So with that said, we're not judging anybody when we talk about fat models and skinny templates.
Fat models, they're my favorite. Yes. So for me, like I wrote this post actually, so I'll take this story. But coming from Rails, I definitely came from a background of like this is all based on skinny controller fat model paradigm, which James Buck wrote about a long time ago. And the thing, I've written a couple articles about missing an ORM, and I think this is the reason why I miss an ORM. Like being able to put business logic into your models, or as it were, like in our, like saying it in Meteor land's a little weird, like an individual document from a collection, right? That's what I'm actually referring to as a model here.
As a model, yeah.
Being able to put that business logic on that model, I think is a very smart thing. And I've seen it be very advantageous as I've been moving towards that paradigm in my latest client project and some of my open source work as well. So I referenced, I did this for Space Talk, and I've also been doing it for the client that I've been working on. And it's been a cleaner experience. So we're able to take, methods that you would probably write a template helper for, push it into a collection helper instead. Now it's available on both the client and the server, and it's going to be available anywhere in the client that you're using that kind of document, individual document. So, you can call it from one template helper or another. So, if you think about maybe the use cases in the Mastering Meteor class, I put some stuff on the tweets and on the users, so I can call like users.tweets, or I can call tweet.user or something like that, and it'll like call a find and return the relevant information to me. So, that I think that's a very, very strong paradigm. And I give some examples in here about how like if the client comes to you and says, hey, like, let's assume we're building like a support ticket app and you want someone to view the support tickets and we need to give access to that. Well, then, there's if we use something like Adrian landing roles, then you're going to have this, checking to see if the user has the allowed role and that kind of thing. And so what if instead we just push that straight into, the checking straight into the user's class somehow? We can just call support tickets and it'll check to see if the user already is a support rep. And if so, it'll allow that data to return. And so now we get this nice kind of interface that works the same in both the client and the server for publication and for, showing the data on the client. And it's made for a better user experience. And then on top of that, at the end of the day, when the client comes to me and says, oh, hey, we've got these additional users that need access to support tickets. Can you add them into add their roles into the list of people that can see these support tickets? Like, oh yeah, sure. Like that's a one-liner change in one file and we're done. Like,
yeah.
That's brilliant to me.
Yeah. So would you call these are like client and server mix-ins of functionality, basically?
Kind of, but they're not really mix-ins because they pertain particularly to this data that we're talking about, right? Like, so in the case of the users, we're directly working with meteor.users collection. And so I tend to save that off as like capital U users and then apply the helpers there. But yeah, it's tightly scoped to the data, the document data that we're working with. So, and then you're able to just call, like, when you call this, you're able to access that document's data.
Yeah.
So.
What are you thinking, Rye? You just came into focus. The lighting was kind of keeping you in the dark for a second.
Yeah. Well, I was actually using some of my powers to do that.
Oh, the predator effect.
It's interesting. Like Rails was such an opinionated framework, right? Yet you still had to have this post, a similar post like this, come out in the Rails community because people can write spaghetti code in every framework, and so I think this is like a strategy to avoiding spaghetti code, or when you change something, having to change it in a million spots. I like to put a lot of this kind of stuff into like a services kind of a concept because if it's like this thing's happening to these three objects, I always have a tough time to figure out like which object does that method belong.
Right. And so
yeah.
Sorry, did you use concerns or modules to do that, or did you go right to services?
I oftentimes just create a /services directory. And
right.
Just like if there's a process that does like 10 things, like do this thing, send an email, send some analytics, all this kind of stuff. Like it's hard for me to say that belongs in the user class because it can get messy there. But I think it's just all part of a continuum, right? Like I think this is the right way to go from like pure spaghetti, get stuff into the classes, into the effective models, but then you find that maybe someday that actually breaks down. Because I remember like in Rails lands, you'd have on your user object like 300 lines worth of code, right? And it's like, well, that's a really fucking fat object right there, fat model.
It was flipping fat, yeah.
Perhaps too fat, So yeah, but I think that this is definitely something that is a step you want to take as you're growing your app.
Yeah, I agree. And, I didn't really talk about it either, but if you notice, like the two helpers I made on the user class, I kind of follow the single responsibility principle as well.
Yep.
Trying to have functions that are only running like 1 or 2 lines of code as well. Make things cleaner.
That's solid, bro.
Yeah, and you can delegate to to another class, that does all that stuff. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. But yeah, good post, Josh.
Good post. Architectural patterns are emerging, and keeping them going is awesome.
Yeah, and the great part is too, like it's only a 20 lines of code kind of package that you install, so it's really easy to look over and make sure that it functions. Not much to it. So, all right, what's next?
Well, I put this on here for the material UI aspect. So first, let's ask about that. Like, do you guys think material design is like the new Bootstrap? I've had a little trouble getting it going and followed back to Bootstrap a few times. But what do you guys think?
I think Rye has opinions on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're using Polymer, so despite that, like we've moved to Polymer 1.0. We like it, but it's not for everybody. So yeah,
Okay.
I don't know anything about Materialize, to be honest, because it came out after Polymer.
Oh, okay. But it has that Google flat material design look.
Yep. And it's basically allowing our developer, Greg, to design stuff that when we go out and show the app to people, they're like, man, who's your designer? And I say Google, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? So yeah, we get a lot of compliments on something that we built without any designer at all.
Cool.
Nice.
I'm sure you get the same thing with Materialize, though. Do you use Materialize, Josh?
I haven't used it. No, we've been. I've been on Ionic actually. So.
Which is Angular derived, right?
It is, but we're using Meteoric, so it's a Blaze wrapped version of Ionic.
Okay. Wow, so many choices for front end stuff.
Yeah. Well, for us, I mean, we're doing phone only, so I've been building a Cordova application for the last 5 months or so. So.
And Ionic, that's Ionic's use case is for phone only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't look very good in the browser. So, like, if they came to me and said, hey, we need a browser version of this, I'd probably start packaging a lot of this stuff up to be, like, mobile and browser packaging and kind of separate that out.
Cool. And does React have any kind of built-in UI opinions?
CSS framework, I don't think so.
Okay.
That I'm aware of, but
yeah,
I think this is really this post is kind of like the guy mashed together these things and it worked
Meteor
out pretty
for
well.
database, React for front end components, and Material UI for theming, right? So that's a package that can work. And who wrote this post again? I know this is my topic, but Luigi Maselli. All right, thanks, Luigi, from Italy. Great. A lot of good design in Italy. I love my espresso machines to look all beautiful like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so it looks like I'm reading. I didn't even realize Material UI is basically the Polymer look without the actual web components architecture. So it's just material design. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's just like two different paths to get the same sort of a look. So I imagine it's again, web components is an interesting topic. It's a standard that I don't know will win, but we're using it, so we know what we're doing now. So but I don't know if it wins long term because there's a lot of hurdles to get over.
Yeah.
You know what is interesting? I think actually I talked to Rishi about this, and I'm pretty sure This Week in Meteor.com is using the Material CSS framework rather than using Polymer. So,
but you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at it, right?
Yeah, like because it's all been minified and stuff. I'm not sure that it's necessarily easy to.
But yeah, there is that color that kind of I associate with material design, just like that color of blue I associate with Bootstrap.
Yeah.
The default color, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's jump to the next topic.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about WebAssembly.
Yeah, I just learned about it because I got assigned the story. I remember, I heard some of the headlines about it, but I hadn't dove very deeply into it. But basically, WebAssembly is an idea that, it's been said that JavaScript is the assembly code for the front end. That a lot of people, I don't know, there's maybe 200 different. I did a CoffeeScript post where I did some research, and there's like 200 different languages that compile down to JavaScript, right?
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy high number, like way higher than you would expect.
Yeah, but I think, the reason that happens is because it's such an interesting target language, right? Because it literally runs everywhere. Like everybody makes a version that runs on every device. So, I mean, that's why.
Yeah, it's not terribly surprising. But the point of this WebAssembly thing is that JavaScript is not assembly, and it doesn't perform like assembly. So it's kind of a bad assembly
It's a
for the
bad
web.
assembly.
Yeah, so they're
But
proposing.
is it a good enough assembly?
I mean, if the WebAssembly is trying to get something like 20 times faster than JavaScript, so that would be big. Honestly, like either you still run across apps that
are slow, but I mean, in the day of like Moore's law and like us getting kind of ridiculously fast with computers, do we care?
Well, power usage, right? The environment, the trees will be happy if we get faster JavaScript.
Ooh, think of the trees.
Think of the trees. Damn it. No,
Maybe I'll buy it.
How about this? How about better battery power on your device? That might be an answer.
That's what you mean by the trees. Ultimately.
Yeah. I think that. I mean, I don't know too much again about this thing. I know this is not a reality right now, from what I can see, but it says that Mozilla, Microsoft, Google, and Apple are all working together on this. I've also heard the same thing, said about lots of standards that don't end up happening.
Yes.
Well, I think the interesting thing here is like if you go look at like Shadow DOM versus Virtual DOM or something like that, like there's clearly divides between Apple and Google on which one should win, but the fact that they're all four working on a WebAssembly project seems very, very interesting in the long run to me.
Yeah, I just don't know. Is there a certain company that's more behind this than others? Like that's the case with web components and the Polymer stuff. Google is way more behind that than these other companies, and so it's like if you let that win, you're kind of helping Google win. And so I don't know if there's some company that's more behind this than others, or is it truly all four major browser guys are all working together in a nice non-competitive way, like that's the tricky part about this is these are all big companies too.
It's almost scary, right? Like, my God, all four of them are doing this. What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's watch. We'll see.
Yeah. I think it will be interesting because I think you'll start to see compilers come out that'll take your Ruby code down to bytecode that can run in the browser, and
Yeah, it starts to break down the JavaScript is owning the world idea, which, again, it probably makes sense. I mean, really, JavaScript is it's kind of a crappy language at its core, and it's just a happy accident that it happened to win out, I think, as big as it is.
True.
But we'll get into that, right? Because we're going to talk about ES6.
Oh, there's a segue.
Nice.
The problem is, well, you know what? Why don't you go ahead? We'll come back to mine.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I was skipping over. ES6 has standardized. So who made this post here is Dominic Ferber, real world ES6 examples. And I'm very excited about ES6. I think it kind of splits the difference between CoffeeScript succinctness and convenience, and the fact that it's JavaScript. So everybody, learn what you can about ES6. It is coming. The train has left the station, and you will love some of the things that it has. So some of the quick hits that Dominic touches on are the arrow functions, which are get rid of some of the weirdness of this. Right? If you're using arrow functions, the whole var self equals this convention that you're used to, you can, in most cases, do without that. Another thing that will be going the way of the dodo bird with ES6 that Dominic mentions is, you know what I'm going to say, array.prototype.slice.call. Whoa, that's a mouthful. So how about just... What is your pet peeve in JavaScript that ES6 solves?
Just one, huh?
Yeah, that's right. It's too hard.
For me, this seems a lot like it's. So I still use CoffeeScript. I'm one of those guys. So okay, you're getting closer, but you're not there yet.
That's true. You're not there yet. I've done some character count differences, and there are still, trailing curly braces and things like that in ES6 that you can't always get rid of.
Yeah. But I like the new object literal kind of syntax where you can just use the parentheses and it kind of denotes that it's a function and you just return out of there. We don't have to type function anymore. Like,
That's true.
That was a big thing for me with CoffeeScript. Like, I hated having to type function and it drives me nuts every time. So
Yeah, I think I did an analysis on some JavaScript file, and something like 40% of the weight of the file was either the word function or the word return. I mean, think of all the carpal tunnel we would prevent by not having to type all that stuff.
yeah.
So array prototype slice call goes away with the triple dot rest operator and spread operator. You'll know those, Rye, from CoffeeScript. And I'm not going to get into classes, really. I don't try to use classes and inheritance very much in JavaScript, but it's certainly better the ES6 way than the ES5 way.
Yeah, and again, in CoffeeScript we have classes. Whoop.
Yep.
Well, you think you have classes.
Well, I have whatever. It feels like a class, then it is a class. That's why.
Well, that is the dynamic language principle, isn't it?
It's a transpiled class, right?
I didn't know that word. No, I believe you.
Transpiling?
Yeah.
It's so now, like, that's the other interesting thing I think he talks about in here is that oh no, he doesn't talk about it, but you can install the Babel ES6 Babel package, and you can start writing an ES6 syntax now, and then it'll transpile down to ES5 syntax. So kind of like polyfill or something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Same idea.
And I've used a different package, but you can get going on that in Meteor now. You have been able to for a while with either the Babel one, or there's a mquandaye Harmony. It's another package. And I think the lowest barrier to entry is taking like the test suite of an existing project or package and rewriting it in ES6, right? So then your production code maintains its format that you're familiar with, but you can use your test suites as a learning curve. And if you're using a lot of it and describe blocks or nesting, like in Cucumber, some of those ES6 features will help you out today.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. I'm pretty stoked that ES6 got ratified. So
yeah. And ES7 is underway too. So unfortunately, some of the more arcane features like asynchronous behaviors, which we're not going to get into right now, those will completely change in ES7, but that's no reason not to get familiar with the stuff that's in Dominic's post and other good ES6 posts today.
Yeah.
Yep. That's just my 2 cents.
All right. So the next topic, we'll come back to it now, is creating Meteor toys. So Sasha, on the Discover Meteor blog, Max Savin had a nice guest post about Meteor toys and kind of how it came to be, and just kind of walk through all the things that he had done, like talking about, Mongo. What did he call it early on? It wasn't
Mongol, like Genghis Khan.
Mongo Inspector was the initial name, and then he renamed it to Mongol. And then he had a session inspector as well, which he renamed to Jet Setter. And then he started getting more and more into creating debug-only packages and started writing a bunch more. And he called them the Orb, and he's kind of created this whole system around it. So he's got this UI for putting this debug environment on your screen. So it's almost like you're overlaying these development tools right on top of your development environment, like your browser itself, which is a really interesting concept, because you can get access to the shell or the pub subs, or you can tell it to like auto publish if you want. Like, this feels like a better, he's got a quote on his page from me. To me, this feels like what they wanted auto publish and Insecure to kind of do for people, when they created that. So I almost feel like, honestly, Meteor should just come in, buy like a mass package, and just give it to the community. as like what they originally intended things to be for new developers.
I think that's great. They could even pay him in Chipotle coupons because
he said something about Chipotle burritos. Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting, but after this post came out, I got into this pretty heated debate with a couple people in a Slack chat room, not the Meteor Club Slack chat room, but another one I'm in, and it was interesting because a lot of people think that it's a negative thing to have paid packages in the ecosystem, and a lot of people feel like his reasoning of developers get paid, Meteor gets paid for hosting. Why shouldn't I get paid for creating these awesome packages? And I agree with that. So, and the debate was very much the other way. People feel like it's going to be bad for the community in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I think the compromise you mentioned where MDG adopts people either hiring them, but they can't hire everyone who does some good work,
right?
But somehow like adopting and taking stewardship and possibly with money or a stipend. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. The way I feel, I kind of feel like let the market decide whether this is a good idea to do paid packages. If people buy it, then it's good, right? If people don't buy it, then it didn't work out. But I kind of see there's certain communities, like I remember in the .NET world, when I was a part of that, it seemed like every bit of code you wanted to bring in that wasn't your own, it was kind of like pre-GitHub, right? You had to buy these $100, $200 things, and that kind of sucked. But you accepted it and you paid, I don't really like that.
At the end of the day, there's a couple schools of thought that I have around this. And one is like, if you're willing to pay for an IDE or some kind of tool that adds onto your IDE, I kind of see this as the same kind of thing. Yep. And also, if this saves you time in some way, like time is money, especially as a developer, like a freelance developer, I sell my hours. Like if this saves me over an hour, that's worth some amount of money to me. And as long as it's saving me more time than what it would cost time-wise, then it's a win. And you saw the same thing in the Rails community, like with like early on Rails Kit. Like you could buy a package that would do the credit card kind of integration. This was prior to Stripe, and you could just buy this package, this gem, pop it in, and get credit card stuff going on for your SaaS app. Like
I bought that too. $250 for SaaS Kit.
Yeah, and it probably save you at least a day of work, which is going to be a win for your company or your bottom line in some way. Like, is that a bad thing? No, I don't think that's a bad thing.
But I do wonder how many people have paid this price for it, and whether he's going to think about adjusting the price to get more people in, or maybe even just the fact that we've talked about him in so many episodes on account of there being a price. Like maybe I should set a price on my packages, so I'll just be mentioned, and people will debate whether it's a good thing. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah. He's blazing a trail, so he's taking all the
heat,
the heat on it. Yeah, but I agree with you, Josh. This seems more like an IDE enhancement than a Meteor package that runs inside your app. It's just a dev tool, so people pay for dev tools, and I don't pay for dev tools, but some people pay for dev tools.
Yeah.
Like I use RoboMongo, I use Atom. I don't think I pay for either of those things. So.
Well, you do, right? You have like a pretty big, large like GitHub subscription for differential. True. So theoretically, you're paying for Atom in some way.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Wow, they tricked me.
Or they impressed you.
Yeah, true. Angry tweet at them. What the fuck now? Anyway.
Why are you funneling these dollars? I hate you. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're going to do like a longer Meteor Club podcast on this topic. I'm going to have one of the people that was kind of down on it. I'm going to have them come on the show, and then I'm going to have someone from the Ruby community who has quit his job and he's doing full-time package development, like paid package development. And I want to like just put them together and let them go at it. I think that would be interesting. So
yeah,
I don't.
I'd like to hear how he came up with the price. And the last tool that I bought was $29. It was called Deck Set, and it stung a little bit to get it, but I had to make a presentation in 2 days, and it looked much better on account of doing it.
Yeah, so I went back and forth with him for a while, and I think he did this with other people too, trying to figure out a price. And to me, I told him $49 felt like the right price. 99 maybe feels high to me. So I don't know. But I tell you what, I know he'll make a coupon code for us. So if you come to the meteorpodcast.com and look at the show notes for episode 65, I'll make sure we put a link in there so you can get a discount on Meteor toys. So
awesome.
Yep.
That's a big ad for him.
Yeah.
See, it was a very brilliant strategy.
You're welcome, Max. All right, let's go to the last topic.
Yes.
Next and last topic. Meteor is up 28%, and this is. I'm going to go ahead and debunk this as being fact, and here's why. Okay. Libscore.com, which is where this data is coming from, says that in May there were 67 sites using Meteor, and now there's 86 sites using Meteor, which is 28% improvement. But I'll tell you what, there's more than 86 sites using Meteor. So
I agree.
Your data's wrong.
Yes. Crater, interesting. Like I looked through the list and tried to see if Crater was on there. And so I had to go look up Alexa, and it ranks at like 151,000 or something. And it's not in there. But it's got things that are above me and below me as far as Crater goes listed there. So I don't know.
I see Crater. Crater's at number 722,000, which is way lower than,
Yeah, Alexa tells me it's much, much higher than that worldwide.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're getting their rankings from. That's kind of interesting too.
Okay.
Yeah. I just happened to scroll to the bottom. I saw that. But yeah, there's way more sites. I mean, we've built a lot of sites that aren't on here. Lister's not on here. What the hell? Maybe it's not in the top million. Dang it. We need to get more traffic.
Yeah, someone said they saw differential on the list too. Is that true?
Yeah, differential IO, which isn't actually, it resolves, but differential's on that list.
Yeah.
But I don't believe. I mean, I guess we have a blog that has traffic, so maybe it is.
Yeah,
seems
but
like,
see,
seems like Crater can get more traffic than us.
Yeah, I know Crater's. I know last time I saw differential stats, you guys were like at 20,000 visitors a month or something, and Crater's up to like honestly, I've been kicking some ass, and it's up to like 40, almost 50,000 visitors a month now. So. Yeah, I'd be curious to look into how they're doing this.
Yeah, yep. Be nice.
Was there sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You said.
No, I was looking for. I recall there was some number. I think MDG published about the number of Windows Meteor installs.
Yeah, Matt put up a tweet with a image on it.
Yeah, and I know that certainly every single Meteor install, however many that is, on Windows is new and represents growth there. So,
what's interesting? I'd love to see Meteor maybe open up some stats on this because they've got them.
They do.
They check your. If you've noticed, you've got this Meteor identifier now file that's in your .meteor folder for each application, and that should be unique per application. And if you're missing one, it will actually generate it for you. And they use that to track how many applications are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd be curious if they know how many applications are out there in production right now.
Yeah. So that's all we got. I don't believe the data. So I mean, it'd be maybe Meteor did go up by 28% last month, but this isn't the source of that.
So we'll do our homework and come up with some more specific numbers next time.
Yes. Yeah. We'll dig into these guys and figure out how this lib score is coming across.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm curious. What are you guys working on? Anything interesting, Meteor wise?
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. Go ahead, you go first, Dean.
Well, I have been working on a tutorial. I'm trying to turn Meteor Tracker in on itself. So I'm working on a tutorial that shows you reactively the numbers of computations and dependencies that Tracker is tracking to create a tutorial of that. And it's highly recursive, and it's blowing the stack depth of my brain. And so I'm probably going to have to cut scope a little bit to get it out there. But I'm excited about this tutorial, hopefully by the end of the month.
Cool. Yeah, for me, I traveled to San Francisco, was it last week? Yeah, last week, and did a presentation at the South Bay meetup down in Palo Alto, which was kind of cool. Got to meet Rahul. And, present a little bit of what we're doing with Astronomer to that group. Astronomer is a tool to do event collection out of your Meteor app and get it to the tools, the analytic tools you're using. I'm doing a talk in, I'm working on starting to prepare for a talk at DevCon 5 in New York next month on Meteor, which I haven't done a talk on Meteor. I don't know if I ever have, but anything formal like that. So wish me luck, guys. I mean, I got to go in front of a conference and talk about Meteor, but that'll be fun. If you have any presentations you can give me as a starting point, send them over.
Yeah, I have the one I did at PosCon. I'll send you a link to the slides for it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So it's always nerve-wracking. Yeah, I'm going to OzCon, not to be confused with PosCon. But OzCon in Portland next month, and I'll be doing a Meteor tutorial there. It's like a 3-hour tutorial. Ooh. So if any listeners are going to be there, actually, like I would love to have a hand, because they set up like 96 seats, and right now 24 of those are sold out, and I think I can manage 24 people. But you know, if I hit the full 96, that's going to be a little big for me to deal with.
To run one workshop, you need an assistant?
Yeah. So if anyone will be in Portland around July 21st, I want to say, I could definitely use help, and I could probably get you a ticket if you don't already have one, at least for that workshop that day or something. So, yeah, cool. I've actually been working on something called Space Dojo. So I guess officially I'm going to launch it today. And it's a performance review service. I'm actually working with my first client today. And like I just get access to your code. You pay a monthly fee. I'm still kind of debating on what that monthly fee is. But right now it's somewhere around $900 a month. And I'll just come in and basically go over your Kadira, go over your code, find where all the trouble spots are, and then kind of give you a report that says, here, you need to fix all this stuff.
And then you fix all the things, right?
I don't fix all the things.
But,
you can contract me, I guess, if you really want me to fix all the things. But I think the idea is that, if your team's inexperienced or they're having problems, like, this is a good way for them to learn and kind of level up over a couple months. So I kind of view this as an ongoing process. Like every month we go in and fix a round of stuff or find a round of stuff that you can fix, and then you fix it, and then we'll come back and find more stuff, because there's always more stuff, always.
Right. It's the 80-20, right? And as soon as you lop off the worst parts, the next worst parts show up.
Yep, definitely. So spacedojo.com, going to get that up today.
Nice.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, I think that about wraps it up. As always, we've got the year-long sponsorship from Modulus, so check those guys out if you have hosting needs, modulus.io. And if you want to support this podcast or Crater or any of the other things that I'm doing, you can go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Meteor Club, and sign up there. $10 a month will get you in the Slack chat room, which these two guys are in, as well as a ton of other people. I think we're up to like 100 now. So I've invited some of the other kind of top 107. Wow, this thing keeps growing. Some of the other top Meteor devs. So there's a big presence there. I think all the book authors are there, and a lot of the heads of the shops, the development shops, are in there. So.
Yeah, and a bunch of like rising star, like new participants as well. I don't know if we're giving shout outs specifically, but Niall O'Brien, I've had a lot of interesting conversations with, and so Charles Watson, and of course Colby Cheese.
Yeah. Indeed. It's an awesome room. So cool.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.
This video has been a Meteor Club production. You can find out more information about Meteor Club and join the mailing list by clicking on the Meteor Club button below. If you enjoyed this video, you can also hit the subscribe button below and get more content like this. Thanks for watching.